acting like nothing had happened. Do you remember that testimony?
I don't remember the specifics of the testimony.
Okay. So can videographer, would you mind or pulling up Ms. Pennington's July 14, 2016 deposition transcript?
Stand by.
July 14th, 2016, it's volume 2.
Where am I looking in the document?
Yeah, if you could please scroll down to page 238. Ms. Pennington, if you could look on page 238 of your deposition transcript from July 14, 2016, line 23. And if
Do you have control? You have control.
Yeah. Sorry, it's just I don't have like the scrolly thing, so I just have to
Look at the page down.
what line am I reading down to? Okay. Yeah, the night has faded in my memory, but as I read this, yeah.
is that an accurate description of what you observed, Mr. Depp, that evening?
This description?
Yeah. Was it your observation the evening of Thanksgiving that you couldn't tell whether Mr. Depp was drunk or angry, that he just put on a facade?
I couldn't tell what he was feeling. I didn't know what was going on.
And you couldn't tell if he was drunk, correct?
I couldn't tell.
And you couldn't tell if he was angry that evening either?
Well, I can't say what anybody else's emotions are at any time.
You didn't perceive him being angry in front of you that evening?
At me, no.
At anyone?
Not that I recall.
So fair to say that Mr. Depp did not seem angry to you when he came downstairs after for Thanksgiving dinner, right?
He didn't seem any particular way to me.
So you testified that in December of 2015, Amber called you over to her apartment so that you could check her out. Is that a correct statement? You testified to that?
Yes.
Okay, my question was, after you arrived, you observed injuries to Ms. Heard, right?
Yes.
Do you remember seeing that her head was bloody, where a chunk of hair had been ripped out of the back of her head?
Yeah. Yes.
Was her head actively bleeding when you saw her?
It was, it wasn't like dripping down her head, but it was raw and red.
Was it actively bleeding, if you remember?
Define actively bleeding.
Was there blood?
Yes.
How could you tell hair had been ripped out of her head?
There was a bloody patch with hair missing.
Where was her face red?
Her whole face.
Could the redness have been from crying?
It could have been.
Where did her nose appear to be swollen?
Maybe like the upper bridge.
Did you observe that Ms. Heard had any black eyes?
Not that I recall.
Was there blood on her lips when you saw her?
It was a cut open.
Was there blood coming out of that cut?
Sorry, you can answer. Sorry.
I don't remember if there was blood coming out of it at that point.
Was it on the top or bottom lip?
It was on the bottom.
Before we go there, have any independent recollection of seeing a laceration on Ms. Heard's forehead?
There were many times that I saw injuries on her. If you would like to show me a photo or point me to another place where I can remember which injury was in which instance, then I can answer the question.
So you testified that Ms. Heard had a laceration on her forehead when you saw her, correct?
Yes.
If you remember, where on her forehead was this laceration?
Up by the hairline.
Was it on the right or left side?
I don't remember.
Was the laceration bleeding?
I don't think so.
Sitting here today, did you observe any other injuries to Ms. Heard that evening that you remember?
No.
If we can go back to Ms. Pennington's witness statement in the United Kingdom, that would be great. So in paragraph 20, Ms. Pennington, you testified that after you saw Ms. Heard, you, quote, called for assistance from a private nurse who was part of the concierge medical service which Johnny and Amber used. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is Erin Barem the private nurse you're referring to here?
Yes.
Do you know approximately at what time you called Ms. Barem?
Evening.
you recall Ms. Barem coming over to the penthouses that night as well?
I don't know if she came over that night.
Do you recall Ms. Barem providing any advice or recommendation to you on the phone?
I think she said to maybe not let her go to sleep and to listen to her speech. Keep an eye on her.
And you did that?
Yes.
You testified in paragraph 20 that on December 15, 2015, you took pictures with Ms. Heard's injuries on your phone. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you send these photographs?
I don't know if it was on my phone or her phone.
You see the third line down, you say with my phone.
Oh, then it was my phone.
Did you alter the photographs in any way, Ms. Pennington?
No.
Do you recall sending the photographs to anyone?
No.
Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes. Amber's face with swelling on her nose, bruising underneath her eyes.
And to confirm, you don't recognize whether you took this photograph or not, right?
I don't know if I took that one.
Okay. I'm going to show you a document that will be marked Pennington Exhibit 3. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
Do you recognize this photograph?
Yeah. Yes.
Let's pull up Pennington Exhibit 6. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
Did you take this photograph?
Yes.
What is this photograph depicting?
The part of her scalp where the hair was ripped out.
You've testified previously that you photographed a big clump of hair on the floor, which is blonde in color and clearly belonged to Amber. Do you remember testifying to that?
Yes, I remember.
Where did you see this clump of hair?
It was in PH4 in the bedroom.
And just to confirm, PH4, is this where Ms. Heard used that penthouse as a closet?
No.
Which penthouse did Ms. Heard use as a closet?
Penthouse 5.
How did you know that the hair clearly belonged to Amber?
Hair had been ripped out of her scalp and it was her color on the floor of her apartment.
But you didn't see the hair get ripped out of her head, right?
Correct.
And so your understanding that this was Ms. Heard's hair that was ripped out of her head was based on what Ms. Heard told you, right?
My understanding that it was Miss Heard's hair was what I saw on her body and on the floor.
And the fact that it had been, quote, ripped out of her head, that was based on what Ms. Heard told you, right?
Yes, and common sense.
If we could pull up Pennington Exhibit 7, please. Ms. Pennington, do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
Is this a picture of a clump of hair on the floor that you referenced in your prior testimony?
Yes.
Is this a picture of a clump of hair on the floor that you referenced in your prior testimony?
Objection vague.
Yes.
Did you take this photograph?
Yes.
Did you take it on your phone?
Yes.
And before you took this photograph, did you move the hair in any way?
No.
Okay, so this picture is the clump of hair exactly as you found it, right?
Correct.
And when did you take this photograph?
When I was taking the other photographs.
And you didn't alter this photo in any way, correct?
I did not alter this photo.
Do you recall taking a photograph of a wooden platform bed which had a partially broken bed frame?
I do.
And did you photograph the bed just as you found it?
Yes.
You didn't move anything off or onto the bed?
No.
Where was the bed broken, if you remember?
It was a platform bed, and the edge of the platform had like a long shard of wood off the corner, or like off the edge.
Where was the broken bed? In which penthouse?
4.
In which room?
The bedroom.
I'm going to show you a document that will be marked Pennington Exhibit 8. Bears the base number Pennington 5. Do you recognize this photograph, Ms. Pennington?
Yes.
Did you take this photograph?
Yes.
You see that on the left side of what I assume is the mattress and the comforter, there appears to be something on the bed.
Is it possible to zoom in?
Sure. You see in the picture there appears to be something on the bed.
Yes.
Is this something that was already there when you found the bed?
I don't remember seeing that before.
It's not something that you put on the bed, right?
No.
And you don't know what that is?
No.
I believe you already testified that the next day Ms. Heard was going on the James Corden show, right?
Which testify? Which testification?
Today.
Oh, today. The next day, yes.
And you were with Ms. Heard when she was getting ready for the show at her apartment, true?
True.
And was this in Penthouse 3?
5.
Do you remember that Samantha, Melanie, and Adir were there assisting Ms. Heard getting ready?
Yes.
Who is Samantha?
Samantha is Johnny's stylist and was also doing styling for Amber.
And who is Melanie?
Amber's makeup artist.
And who is Adir?
Amber's hairstylist.
Do you recall anybody else being there?
No.
Did you hear Ms. Heard tell anyone of these people about her injuries?
I remember her showing the injuries.
Who did she show the injuries to?
She showed Melanie her lip and Adair the missing hair on her head.
Ms. Pennington, I want to talk to you about Ms. Heard's birthday in April of 2016. You remember that after Ms. Heard's birthday dinner, you and Ms. Heard and some other friends were scheduled to leave for Coachella the day after?
Yes.
So after the dinner, I know you attended the dinner, but after the dinner the next day, when you arrived to the penthouse, you noticed shattered glass on Ms. Heard's bedroom floor.
Correct.
What kind of glass was it?
I don't know.
Did you tell where it came from?
I couldn't tell where it had come from.
Did you notice any other damage in the bedroom?
I believe there was a broken lamp.
Ms. Heard had 2 dogs at the time, correct?
At the time of this?
Yes.
Yes.
And do you recall where the dogs were when you were in the bedroom with Ms. Heard on April 22nd, 2016?
In the bed.
Were you concerned about the dogs injuring themselves on the glass?
Yes.
Did she look upset?
When I arrived,
Yes.
she was asleep.
When she woke up, did she look upset to you?
Yes.
What made you think that she was upset or looked upset?
She started crying.
Now let's turn to the events of May 21, 2016. Okay. At some point, did Ms. Heard tell you that Mr. Depp wanted to come to the penthouse to get some stuff on May 21st, 2016?
I don't remember what exact day she said that, but she said that.
I'll make the representation to you that we're talking about May 21st, 2016, when Ms. Heard alleged that Mr. Depp threw a phone at her. So, do you recall knowing that Mr. Depp was planning to come by the Eastern Columbia building on or about May 21st, 2016 to collect some stuff?
I remember that she told me that he wanted to come over.
Do you remember who was at the penthouse before Mr. Depp came over?
On which, when?
On May 21st, 2016. You were there, obviously, correct?
Yes.
And Ms. Heard was there?
Yes.
Was Josh Drew there?
Yes.
Was Elizabeth Mars there?
Yes.
Were you preparing for a jewelry show the next day that you were doing, Ms. Pennington?
I was preparing.
Was anybody assisting you prepare for that show?
Yes.
And you were in Penthouse 5 on May 21st, 2016, preparing for that show?
We were in and out of Penthouse 5 and Penthouse 1.
At some point, Ms. Heard left penthouse 1 and penthouse 5. And she went to penthouse 3, correct? At some point that evening?
Yes.
Sometime after Ms. Heard left to go back to penthouse 3, you received a text message from her, correct?
Yes.
Do you remember where you were when you received this message?
PH1, penthouse 1.
Where was Mr. Drew?
With me in PH1.
And where was Miss Mars?
She was either with us in PH1 or in PH5.
And do you remember what you were doing when you received this message?
No.
What did you do after you received this message from Ms. Heard?
I went straight over to PH3.
Could you hear when you went straight over to page 3, Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard yelling?
Sorry, will you repeat just the beginning of the question? You broke up a bit.
When you went to penthouse 3, could you hear Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard yelling?
Yes.
Do you recall what they were saying to each other?
No.
Do you recall the door being locked to penthouse 3 when you got there?
The door was always locked.
Did you have a key?
Yes.
Did you use the key to open the door?
Yes.
I believe you previously testified that the penthouses 3, 4, and 5 were all connected. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so you can get from penthouse 5 to penthouse 3 without going out the main hallway. Is that right?
Correct.
When you entered penthouse 3, only Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard were in the penthouse, right?
Yes.
Do you know where Mr. Depp was standing?
Yes.
Where was he?
In the living room.
What part of the living room?
The sort of like the entry, like the in-between from the kitchen to the living room.
And where was Ms. Heard?
On the other side of the living room.
Was she by the couch?
Yes.
And were they approximately how far apart?
8 feet, 10 feet.
And they were both standing when you first came in?
Yes.
What's the first thing you remember, Ms. Pennington, when you entered the penthouse?
The first thing I remember was just hearing them. I don't remember what they were saying, but it was verbal argument, and then he continued to yell, and I went over to her and then stepped between him.
Where was Mr. Depp when you stepped between them?
The sofa is an L in the corner of the living room. The coffee table fit into the L shape. Amber was on the far side, Johnny was on the other side of the L, with the coffee table between them.
At some point, Mr. Depp's security team came in. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that was Jerry Judge and Sean Beck?
Yes.
Where was Mr. Depp standing when they entered the apartment?
In the space between the living room and the kitchen.
And you were with Ms. Heard on the sofa?
Yes.
Mr. Depp eventually left Penthouse 3 with his picture. Is that correct?
Eventually, yes.
And he left you and Ms. Heard in Penthouse 3?
Yes.
From the moment you entered House 3 until Mr. Depp left, did you see Mr. Depp touch Ms. Heard?
I didn't see him touch her.
Did you see him throw anything at her?
I didn't see him throw anything at her.
What did you do after Mr. Depp left Penthouse 3?
We took Amber to Penthouse 1.
Is that where Mr. Drew and Miss Mars were?
I don't know where they were specifically. I don't know if they were in different places or which apartment they were in.
What did you do once you and Miss Heard got back to Penthouse 1? She wanted her purse. So I asked Josh to go find her purse in PH3. Did you observe any property damage in any of the penthouses?
Yes.
What damage did you observe in Penthouse 3?
He had smashed a bunch of on his way out. I saw this. On his way out, he had knocked over a bunch of items that were on the kitchen island, fruit baskets and bottles and things like that. That was the main damage in PH3.
What damage did you see in PH5?
In PH5, there were photos that had been smashed off the wall, items that I had been working on the table that had been thrown against the wall. Yeah.
You also observed injuries to Ms. Heard's face.
Her cheek was red and swelling.
Do you recall when you noticed her cheek?
No.
But you didn't see how this occurred, right?
I didn't see.
At some point, 2 police officers arrived. Is that correct?
At 2 points, 2 police officers arrived.
Before the first set of police officers showed up, had you cleaned up any of the damage in Penthouse 3 or 5?
I don't remember.
Where were you when the police officers arrived? The first set?
PH3.
Did you see Ms. Hurd speak to the officer? The first step.
Yes.
Did you see the officers enter penthouse 3?
Yes.
They look around penthouse 3?
Yes.
Did they enter penthouse 5, the first set of police officers?
I'm not sure.
Is it your testimony, Ms. Pennington, that the first set of police officers